where I'm trying to like sell it with words. I think selling it with thoughts is better.
Um,
Storybook
Storybook RPG. I don't know. Like,
psychedelic.
there's words that people use to describe choice consequence video games often have to do with like unique outcomes, different opportunities, like
Uh,
a variety kind of game,
Storybook RPG
personalized
where
experience.
you decide. Your decision is important. Storybook RPG in which this should be in which, correct?
I avoid in whiches as much as I can and only eat sandwiches.
Gotcha.
Um, and I think it should actually be in that, but a storybook RPG that you decide. Oh, which you decide, where you decide.
I had
Let's
where, but in which is
where you
technically
decide.
more correct.
I I would just avoid it entirely and just say you decide in this storybook RPG.
You
but
decide.
because I would be like I don't want to deal with this grammar phenomenon. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I know what book to look at and I'll find the page eventually, but I don't want to deal with it.
Storybook RPG with
Storybook.
novelistic consequences.
Well, that could be read a bunch of different ways, I think. Um, where choices matter. I don't know. Like most of the like choice consequence stuff always involves the word choice. Choice driven RPG experience, something like that. The word choice is always in there. I don't know. Like it doesn't exactly capture the way we designed the RPG or design this the narrative either, right?
No, no, it doesn't. It leaves out the individual characters completely. I think
Yeah.
the problem with selling it to a player is that you can't be like you're inhabiting another person, you know, like you're in their body for the duration of the playthrough.
Yeah. I mean that is kind of a way of selling it, but it doesn't exactly really tell you what it's like.
No,
No.
where character is king. Like all these cheesy
Are
ass
you selling the
taglines.
buffet in Las Vegas?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know, dude. In a world where your choice affects stuff, says To Infinity and Beyond. Uh, uh, a watercolor RPG?
uh
It's not really that.
no, I mean it feels I guess the his Cody's palette feels that way sometimes, but I don't think that's quite right.
Storybook is the closest we've gotten to affecting the aesthetic of the thing, preparing people. A mature, story driven, turn based
Yeah.
strategy game steeped in Viking culture by three game industry veterans. The Banner Saga.
Here's a question. Do we want to use the word strategy in our description of the game?
Strategic?
Because strategy has like a charged.
Yeah, I,
I don't know, because like once you put the word strategy in any game description, it's like, oh, this is like a real time strategy game, or like this is for hardcore gamers only. Like it
yeah.
has a it has a bit of a black and white connotation, I guess. And it's not like our game doesn't have depth enough to be a strategy game, but I feel like one of the ways you designed it was that it doesn't have to be so limiting to just people who want to play the hardcore route.
This is so hard. Why is this hard?
Yeah. Because games are a lot of things.
Yeah, and I'm not used to writing like this either. I hope that no one has this job where they just have to make up Kickstarter taglines, but maybe it's easier if you're not a part of the project.
Yeah, probably is.
It's like,
Um,
just shut
it's
up. Your
not.
game is about these things. Put them down.
Yeah,
Maybe like we just list the things about our game, right? And then we
we
can throw
could.
them
I
in.
mean, the chasm is a blank, 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 featuring blank, 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 blank.
It's a if we treat it like a Mad Lib, right?
Yeah,
So strategy is part of it.
Project Kingdom is a 2D RPG choice
Complexity,
consequence adventure featuring.
choice, strategy, complexity, choice.
I don't
I
know what is it featuring beyond those things. I feel like maybe we should just put the choice consequence stuff at the other end, featuring choice
individuals,
consequence stuff. But
arch,
and
archety
then
archetypeless.
architecture.
Well,
I don't
I
know
wanna.
about that.
We're not archetypeless, but we try and avoid it. We're archetype
Yeah,
avoidant.
I don't think that's archetype
Archetype
avoidant.
avoidant. Look at that.
Where are we?
We're
Kind of food
deviants.
allergy? I don't understand. um, Archetype avoidant. We're trying to carve our own niche. We're trying to be unique.
Redefine. Redefinition.
That doesn't sound right. I don't know. We're just trying to be original for once.
Original. If you say original, does that like that basically invalidates anything you put after it, right? Unless it's
Well, yeah,
recipe.
to some people, yeah.
Original recipe.
Original recipe, 5 spices,
Five spices.
handed down from family member to family member from the
Strategy,
deep south.
choice, individuals,
KFC's own Project Kingdom.
characters. I think characters.
That's not a bad, yeah,
That's really important.
character-driven RPG.
A character driven
It's a bit ambiguous, but it's closer to the mark than before.
storybook RPG. I still think like emphasizing that we operate on like a gray moral spectrum is important because it gets at the things that we want to put in, but like it does it in a way that's more open and more ambiguous than having to throw a whole bunch of words in to sort of describe what we want.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Like you're kind of stuck there because it's just like the choice consequence genre is mostly about black and white moral decisions or ones that is morally ambiguous. So like neither of them really describe what we're doing
No,
exactly, but
but if I come into a game and it says like, oh, it's got a morality system, I don't want it to have like a black white morality system, you know. And if it's character driven, then I want to know that the characters aren't cookie cutter archetypes either. Like they're not just drawing from it's like the for example in to Infinity and Beyond's links from yesterday, he sent me one where a guy was going through and talking about Pillars of Eternity, and he was talking about how all of the characters are like cookie cutters, uh, cutouts from fantasy, basically, and why it doesn't work in Pillars of Eternity, but it does work in things like Mass Effect, and it does work in things like Dragon Age. And basically, what he said was that the characters have to have, even if they are cookie cutter archetypes, they have to have a connection to the world. Because they can be those archetypes, but if they're telling you something about the place and the people of the place, then they become much more interesting because they're interpreters of culture now, even if it is through the lens of a cookie cutter character. But the problem in Pillars of Eternity was that they had a character who had multiple personality disorder, but it was magical multiple personality disorder, and that character was also the angry nerd archetype,
yeah.
and the the payoffs on both of those were so minimal in the game. They also had like the Marlboro Man as your warrior guy, like your
Mm.
classic Western hero who doesn't talk, who's like very earnest and what's the guy's name from the show that had Ron Howard on it? Andy Griffith. It's like that sort of guy as
Yeah.
your warrior, which is something we've seen so many times.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's like
So maybe we can say something about avoiding cliches and archetypes, but I just don't know what the two-word phrase for that is yet.
archetype avoidant.
Yeah, that's not
We're,
it.
we're deviants operating on the ends of the spectrum.
That's better.
A character-driven storybook RPG where morality. I've said this like 7 times in different things. I don't want to say morality trends gray.
Because they're not essentially moral choices most of the time.
Where
Like
decisions,
yeah,
dis,
they're just decisions that you make in life, and you already have morals. Like it's more like you have a hand in the fate of a character than you have a hand in the fate of judgment or justice. I mean, those things might come about, but it's nothing deliberately like is it right or wrong to kill people because they did bad things? Kind of questions being posed through the choice mechanic, which I feel like is much more deliberate in uh, things like Telltale and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
character-driven
I
art.
mean, it is a tagline. I don't know that it has to capture every nuance of our game. I do think it has to capture at least one nuance.
Yeah, no, maybe it's better to just sell one thing with the tagline.
Yeah, I think that might be a good thing. That and like maybe I think the way that Star Mazer, is that the name of the game?
Yeah, so, retro
Like I
sexy
think
point and click adventure shoot 'em up in
Yeah, like I
space.
think they did two things in there. Like one, there's at least like one nuance of a game mechanic in there where you're like, oh, okay, they're shoving two genres together. And then the second nuance is like by the voice of it, like, oh, retro sexy, like,
Yes.
okay, like this might be like kind of 80s-ish, and like I kind of get like the certain aesthetic they might be going for. So
Yeah.
there's like two like selling points really in that thing.
The fact that they've like crammed so much into their description is uh, emblematic of the art choice that they've made and the genre choice that they've made, and also like the mood of the game is sold by like the I mean they threw in an exclamation mark at the end, and they've got space capitalized, you know. There's all sorts
Yeah.
of emotion in this thing, and it fits their their aesthetic.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's like a more familiar place to call people to.
Yeah.
Like I think fantasy and science fiction, like which are the home states of video games, are like comfortably ecstatic and eccentric and kind of campy. And so like people see exclamation marks and space in all caps and they're like, oh yeah, video games. like the like the new world of storytelling in video games is like serious and dark and we're making arts. Um, but those things are usually encapsulated in not so little words most of the time. They usually are encapsulated in trailers, I guess. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I wonder what a Telltale Games Kickstarter would look like.
Tagline. Yeah. Well, we should go look at Broken Ages thing.
Yeah, that might be a good idea
Age Kickstarter.
because I mean, they have a certain. They're trying to avoid archetype,
Yeah.
and they have a fantasy setting in a way.
And Tim Schafer.
And Tim Schafer, who's a good writer.
An adventure game from Tim Schafer, Double Fine, and you. Fuck.
There you go.
God damn. Yeah,
Well,
they nailed the important stuff.
yeah, they did. They knew what people wanted.
Tim Schafer, Double Fine, and you. You know.
See, Tim Schafer's like point and click adventure games are not retro because Tim
No,
Schafer's still alive.
because Tim Schafer's doing it.
Yeah, I
Um,
learned that Tim Schafer learned writing from Orson Scott Card.
interesting.
Yeah, I had always assumed that he had just kind of learned from a few like college courses and stuff like that because that's what he's always ever said in like any interview ever. But like I don't know, like a few months ago or something, there was some kind of Broken Age expose, and he revealed that when he was working at LucasArts, Orson Scott Card was already working on like some draft of a Star Wars movie or some Lucas film, and so he just like came over and taught Tim Schafer a bunch of stuff about writing.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That doesn't make him less of a dick, but cool.
I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on him. Um, are you talking about Tim Schafer or Orson Scott Card?
Orson Scott Card.
Okay, I was gonna say Tim Schafer seems like a pretty nice guy.
He's like a Orson Scott Card has these ultra conservative opinions on
I've
like
heard that.
immigration and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not too deep in the sci-fi, so I don't have a I don't think I have a dog in that race. But
Okay, I see.
yeah,
I think character and player progression matching is maybe important. That's what I realized when we were talking. Where
okay,
it's not a character driven RPG. It is that, but it's that the character and player are growing together. Like the arc of the character matches the arc of the player systematically.
yeah, unified player character experience,
I don't want to say like a storybook RPG where character and player grow as one.
straight from the halls of pure game design,
Where character and player are banging together.
where player and character bang endlessly.
Yeah.
Player and character true love, where player and character speak to one another. I've always found that like I don't know if you've ever read a game description like that, but I feel like there's been a few game descriptions that are like, we have a new game system where this system and this system speak to one another, and I'm like, whoa, no way. And because whenever they say speak, like it makes it sound like there's this complex middle thing happening in it, and then whenever the game comes out, people are always disappointed because it's never their complex version of what I guess communication would be in a video game mechanic world. But it's always used. Maybe we
What
could
about
use a
that?
different verb. A storybook RPG where characters grow out of your control. That's not bad.
Cause that like to me that's like oh really? They grow out of my control, huh? Like as a player we don't like losing control, but when it's posed as like a challenge or like a tag, you know?
Yeah.
If I read that I would be like, "Oh, okay, what do they mean by that?" And then I'm more willing to go and look through and see like, "Oh, okay, characters are actually people in this game."
Yeah. That's not bad. I think that's a good first drafty thing, or at least one good way to look at it. Like if you like, there's like at least two or three things that are like poignant that we could tag into this thing, right? And
Yeah.
like one of them is narrative design. The second one is game design as a whole, I guess. And then I don't really know. I feel like we know those things the most, and are like most used to saying this is what's good about our game. But in reality, I don't really know what people will say is good about our game,
I
or
don't
what
know.
I'll think about it once I play it. So
Well, we have room to throw in like one more word here. So tactical
yeah,
doesn't have to be it, but like that's like a free word
a
essentially.
fantasy RPG.
A fantasy storybook RPG. Well, a tactical storybook RPG. Blank to blank to blank to blank.
Uh, an RPG fantasy where the characters grow out of your control.
RPG fantasy. Fantasy story. I don't know. We have to
I
fit
feel
in
like
something
fantasy
about.
storybook is repetitive.
It is. We have to fit in something about the art style, right? Don't we? Or like the aesthetic of the game.
Yeah, but like you're never gonna get it all, and they're like we could like all of these throw in like 2D or 3D. I like in Star Blazer it's retro sexy,
Yeah.
so I guess fantasy would be the closest that we got to it.
An
Well,
adult
fantasy
storybook RPG.
that means something different.
Adult storybook.
A mature storybook,
Mature
21
storybook.
plus.
Yeah, I don't. That's so hard.
That's also something that would be in a mature storybook, but it's probably not in ours.
Graphic
Um,
novel RPG.
yeah, that's kind of there's something kind of cool about that, and kind of true about it, but also misleading.
Yeah, but it's not like we're grabbing. I actually think Cody's style is kind of close to that. You know, Like they're
Well, I mean, I think it could be in a graphic novel. Like, I was just thinking more about like
oh,
animatics and like
animatics.
the parts that are a little closer to the medium of comics.
True,
But
but we kind of have those. Maybe we could grab the aesthetic a little closer to that.
yeah,
I mean, it's
I don't.
closer to a graphic novel than a storybook.
It is, but it's not intentionally close to like a comic. And I feel like people read that and go, okay, this game like tries to copy things from comics, and then most of
Yeah,
the things that we do are not specific to our RPG, I think, as far as they're similar to other comic-like devices in RPGs,
yeah.
like the portraits and animatics and stuff like that.
To Infinity and Beyond is I think you're both right that the connotations are aesthetic ones, where like you're almost forced to add in some cell shading or
Yeah, and people might expect superheroes, or I don't know. Yeah, just I think it adds a little too much all at once.
yeah. Be careful.
Aesthetic. I don't know if there's something. There's like a fine line there where the art quality is closer to like Disney animation and Disney coloring and stuff that you would expect from a nice graphic novel. Like there's a little bit of a we're not trying to be cartoony, we're trying to be a little fine arty kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
want to I don't want to sound like yuppie about it exactly, but like there's certainly a we're thinking about this art. We're not just like going it's video game art. It's gonna be cartoony kind of thing. So
well, it's not
I think
grim.
that's
We're not grim. You know,
we're not grim.
we're not.
No.
Well, we'd like to be, but we aren't.
Wait, are we grim?
I don't know. There are moments that are gonna be that way, right? Like
Yeah.
they're gonna they're gonna be moments like that. It's like it's not epic, an epic RPG. Yeah. Maybe
That's
it
not.
is. It is
Well,
kind of. It
it's
has
a fantasy RPG. It's always gonna be epic like in one way or another.
high
I don't feel
fantasy.
that that correctly describes like that's why I was thinking about like Journey as more as a thing. Like there's something most of our landscapes ideas so far, at least mine, and like I feel what Cody designs have a lot to do with like far ranged um, like large scale but not exactly loud things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of dust and like muted palette to it. Like everything's rusty or dirty. So there's
Uh,
kind of I'm not sure I would call it like a Western
weathered.
aesthetic to
It's
it.
like weathered. What's another word
Weather
for weathered?
or erosion,
Eroded.
an eroded, an
Well, okay,
eroded fantasy,
a dark storybook RPG.
a dark story. Well, I think that's more like
Yeah. I, well,
a grim brother tale.
we're kind of like that.
Oh yeah, I guess we are a little bit like that. Maybe
Yeah.
that's not a bad.
A dark
That might be, not be
storybook
a bad way.
RPG where the characters grow out of your control. That's pretty good.
Dark, it's not bad. Yeah, dark story, but I feel like I don't know.
It's like graphic novel, but it's
Yeah,
closer.
and then dark is like, oh, it's dark, so it's got like blood and rape. like how many portrayals of dark storybook are there?
Not enough. I mean, I think we are going to be tackling adult themes, certainly. But like how much do we tackle them? I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't know yet either.
We've already got a character who's gender ambiguous.
Yes, and we've got someone who's tackling slavery,
Yes. So I think
and
it's fair to say that we are a dark storybook.
yeah,
We're treading
that's
the line.
probably true.
Yeah.
I suppose we haven't really approached like the actual core of terror that's in our world yet. Like it, like I was thinking about that today as I was concepting the story out. I was like, it's weird that this is about Valley because like Valley is actually in like the scheme of what happens to Eddie, kind of like a subplot. Like
It's small. It's the
it's
start though.
yeah, it's like where he starts from, but like it's not really what happens to Eddie. It's like just this really big thing that Eddie is escaping.
Well, maybe it's
Um,
worthwhile to sort of foreshadow that then in the demo.
Maybe, but I mean, we're already there, and we've got a picture of Valley, so
No, no, no. I mean, but like we can foreshadow that from Valley, and I think
Wait,
some of
what do
your
you?
characters do.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I think it doesn't take long for the longer script to get to darker places pretty quickly, but um, I don't know. They get. I mean, at least the plan for the script. I haven't finished it. I'd love to finish it one day, but I keep writing all these other
I'm
things.
sorry. You'll
One day,
finish it
all right.
someday.
It's
Someday.
so weird. I've imagined like three different plot points in that long story, like four different ways where I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool when that happens.
That's
And I'm
good
like,
though.
oh,
That's
I could
good,
just write it. Yeah,
right?
kind of, but there's like this inertia to an idea, and you don't want to lose it. And like some days, I'm like, oh, like the paper of this idea is growing yellow, and like I haven't
The
gotten.
paper of this idea is
Yeah, it's
fading.
I don't know, and like first drafting is kind of elusive sometimes. Like you want to get it all out.
True.
You can kind of lose it, or at least I can.
Writing is a
Um,
bitch.
yeah, writing is a bitch sometimes.
It's
But
just
anyway, yeah, I think grabbing onto the dark part is a good thing to do.
okay. Well, let's go ahead and take this tagline and post it in the group chat and see what people think.
Okay.
Um, we are over our timeline for the stream for this evening. Viewers, what do you guys think about a dark storybook RPG where the characters grow out of your control? What would you be interested in that? I would love to
Like,
have like
comment,
a
subscribe.
yeah comment, subscribe. It's the only way to keep us from growing out of your control.
Yes. Like, comment, subscribe. I would play that video game. What if there was a choose your own adventure YouTube game where the only three mechanics you had were like,
Like
comment, and
comment.
subscribe?
Oh, that'd be great. We should. It's
And you would just like control people's YouTube careers and stuff like that.
well, it isn't dark per se. Not yet to infinity and beyond.
Not yet. Well, yeah. There are already parts that are
It's
dark.
true.
You just
No,
don't
no,
really know about them.
that's good feedback. That's good feedback.
Yeah, no.
We have to sell that now.
I think that is a great hook. I click on it. That's nice. Not sure about the dark either. I think dark makes it seem horrible and oppressing, whereas the game's art style is hopeful. That's true, but it's kind of also the dissonance of what our game is in some way.
Yeah, well, we are asking you guys for your opinions, like
Yeah.
without any context coming in. So I really appreciate that you're giving us feedback that it's not dark enough. We're gonna try and sell the dark part in the Kickstarter. We haven't sold to you guys like the darkness of the game yet. That's gonna come in through
No.
the narrative, which I think is actually the thing that we've shown least on stream.
Yes.
Um,
Well, that's intentional
true, true,
most
that's
of the time.
intentional. Um,
Yeah.
but I think
Spoiler life.
David is right, and you've pointed something out.
Mm.
Um, to infinity and beyond. We do want like an optimistic sort of outlook for our characters, but we also want them to go through horrible things. I think that
Yeah.
the Grimm brothers um, fables are dark storybook fables, you know, and that's kind of like the tone I'd